The VO Meter, measuring your voiceover progress. Whether you're a veteran voice actor, just starting out, or don't even know how to set a level, we're here to help you avoid the pitfalls along your voiceover path to success. The VO Meter is brought to you by Global Voice Acting Academy, JMC Demos, Voice Actor Websites, Fidalgo, Roswell Pro Audio, and Vocal Booth to Go. The VO Meter is produced in part using Source Connect, made by Source-Elements.com. And now, your hosts, Paul Stefano and Sean Daly.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to episode 121 of the VO Meter.
Measuring your voiceover progress. Today, we're featuring an old friend and new voiceover talent. And it's a bit of a Q&A akin to some of the other talent out there that sometimes do live questions and answers, kind of like Bob Bergen's Ask the Pig or Dave Fennoy's Ask Dave Anything. We sort of took the same approach with this talent who was asking some questions about how to get started. So we'll have that coming up soon.
Yeah, as you guys know, we started this podcast at the beginning, or as a way to kind of archive our own journey until, kind of lead you through our pitfalls and mistakes and victories and stuff like that. But it's been a while since we've gotten to hear from someone who's trying to pursue it now. But before we get to that, it's time for our VO Meter reference levels.
VoiceOver Extra brings you the VO Meter reference levels. Seriously, guys, that's the best you could come up with? Hey, it's your show.
All right, Sean, so it hasn't been too long since our last episode, but what's been going on in your VO world?
Well, I got cast in an audio drama, which was fun. So I get to play a lizard man in this fantasy audio drama that's mixing kind of like the Maltese Falcon with Dungeons and Dragons. So I'm really excited about that. Other than that, we've been doing a lot of webinars and workshops for GVAA. We just had one with the folks over at Source Connect talking about the latest version and how to get started with that. At the end of the month, we have Rob frickin' Paulson. His name was Robert Paulson on Acting is Acting, and that's on the 23rd of this month. And then next month, we're going to be working with voice talent, casting director, and critical role cast member Sam Riegel. So he'll be doing a webinar with us on the difference between auditioning for commercials, cartoons, and video games. So really excited about that. Other than that, I've just been doing my regular e-learning work and auditioning. How about you?
First of all, on the GVAA front, we're recording this on a day where I've actually registered for a workout. So
yeah, with our guest, actually. I don't know if you knew that. So Thom will be at the workout tonight with Steve Pogach from Sirius Pandora.
Oh, really? I didn't know that. So Thom can laugh at me and laugh at how far I haven't come, even though he gave us some nice kudos in the interview.
I was like, wow, you've been doing this for so long. I thought you'd be better.
Yeah, that's pretty much what I'm expecting from someone who I've known for over 30 years. But that should be fun. I'm looking forward to it. I haven't actually worked with Steve before, so when I saw that, I jumped on the registration. So that'll be fun. Other things that are going on, I did an audiobook that should be out in the next day or two. It takes about 10 days to have the book go up on Audible once you submit the files, and it's been 9, so fingers crossed it'll be today or tomorrow. It's called Whispers of Humanity. It's a dystopian end-of-the-world sort of drama, similar to The Last of Us, if you've played that game or watched the new HBO show. Famine wipes out the entire world. Man's trying to survive and come to grips with his new reality while also fighting off raiders and pirates. So it's an interesting book and should be out in the next couple of days. Please look for that and buy it wherever audiobooks are sold, and I would appreciate it. Let's see, I have some sports. Just did another game for the University of Maryland volleyball team in the big arena. I'm doing my quotes. As I mentioned last year around the same time, the volleyball team plays in a small arena now dedicated to a man named Stephen Shanwald. So now it's the Shanwald Pavilion, holds about 2,000 people. And for the last 2 years, once a year, they get to play in the big arena that holds 17,000 people. Last year, we almost had 17,000 for Nebraska. Not quite as many this time, a little over 6,000 for Penn State. But Penn State is the reigning national champions, so that was a fun game. It was on the Big Ten Network. Some people messaged me and said, hey, I see and hear you on TV. That's always fun. That was on just Sunday. So if you have the Big Ten Network and you want to go watch the replay, it plays usually throughout the week. You can see and hear me doing volleyball. And then,
very cool.
Yeah, thank you. And one other thing I want to mention, well, two actually. I'm also doing a radio drama. sort of. We're not actually playing on the radio. I know that's what we call them, but back with my friends from VO Rep, who I've done some work with over the years, and we had a session the end of last week, doing a table read basically for a drama called Static. It's about a radio DJ who finds something mysterious in the studio with him. It's very Halloween themed, so it's sort of horror.
Mm-hmm.
And I play the engineer on the other side of the table going, "What? I didn't hear nothing." And trying to convince the guy
You're
that
crazy.
yeah, exactly. And then I won't spoil it, but it turns for the worst after that. So that's coming up probably pretty soon. We'll get it out before Halloween because that's the whole point of it. It's a horror. And the last thing, I forgot to mention this on the last episode. I think it actually happened before we recorded the episode with Jim Edgar. But I went to the latest event for Campaigns and Elections, who is a publication that focuses on political advertising in the D.C. area. And they had their Creative Summit, which is a gathering of all the people who hire us to do political ads. And I've gone to that the last 3 years. And I went last week as well, or a week and a half ago, actually, down in Washington. And I got to introduce the keynote speaker. So the last couple of years, our agent, Lisa Ristow, has booked us, or not us, but me and some of our other talent to introduce the speakers at this particular event. And this year I got to do the keynote. And by all accounts, it was received well. So that's what's going on with me.
So that wraps up our VO meter reference levels. We'll get to our conversation with Thom in just a minute, right after these QGPs.
Questionable gear purchase.
All right, so I want to let the cat out of the bag. I've done a lot of stupid things over the last 6 months, really. I've been saving up the news. Do you want me to go first, or do you want to go first?
Oh, man, I got nothing. We kind of, the new computer and all the internet stuff and the upgrades, but I haven't gotten anything since. But I have been tempted by some things, so I'll talk to you about that in a minute. You go first.
Okay, well, I've had big microphone troubles. As you know, or as the audience knows by now, I tore up my booth in the summer and replaced it with the Vocal Booth To Go soundproofer, which I am having a great time with, but it changed the way I record a little bit because it's not quite as soundproof as the Studio Bricks I had, but I knew that going in, and I knew I'd probably have to make this change. But I wanted a microphone that was slightly less sensitive than I had been using, and I was using the Roswell Pro Audio Mini K87. The whole reason I got that, aside from the company being a sponsor and Matt setting us one to use, is that in the Studio Bricks, I could use a more sensitive mic. So I've always had this problem where I had highway rumble and background noise coming out of my neighborhood and my house. That hasn't changed. All that's changed is the booth. So I was looking for a microphone that may be less sensitive to the highway noise. So I started buying everything again, basically. I started with the ones I had. So I brought in all the mics I still have around. Like I have the Sennheiser 835, which is just a handheld dynamic, an SM58. I had a Blue Yeti that my child was using, so I tried that. And I had the Audio-Technica AT 875R. I tried all of those, and at first blush, they seemed to be okay, but they didn't have the robust sound I was looking for. So then I started looking for some other bigger dynamics that might work. So, or maybe even smaller diaphragm condensers that may help. So I brought in, a Universal Audio SD7, which is it's an instrument mic that you can use as a overhead toms or for guitar, and it has this really small form factor. It's only about 5 inches wide. It's heavy, so the internals are pretty robust, but it's also a modeling mic, which intrigued me. So they have this whole series of modeling mics now that you can use to have the microphone replicate another microphone's characteristics, either in your DAW as a plugin after you record, or if you have a Universal Audio interface, you can use it live. I don't currently have a Universal Audio interface, so I just tried it on the back end. And this one I just found for $100, and I was like, I gotta try it. I've always loved the modeling idea. I bought an Antelope system a while back and tried that. And this technology comes from the Townsend Labs company that Universal bought a couple of years ago. And when that was its own company, I was really interested in it, and I did not buy one, mostly because of cost. But now these prices have come way down. So this one, I think it's only $149 new. I found it for $100. They have a big, beefy, large diaphragm dynamic, sort of like the SM7B, and it looks almost exactly like the SM7B, called the SD1. And then they have another instrument mic called the SD3, and the SC1, which stands for Studio Condenser, and it's a large diaphragm condenser that also does the modeling. So just to sort of get in on the bottom floor and try out the modeling, I got this SD7. And it was really prone to plosives, which is a problem I've been having a lot recently, too. I think my mouth has changed a bit. I have noticed that my teeth have shifted a little bit, and it might be why I'm getting more plosives. But it was a big problem with this particular mic, and for that reason, I couldn't use it. And also the modeling, using it on the back end with Twisted Wave, which is the DAW I normally use, I didn't really notice much of a difference in the sounds. I was really intrigued by having the ability to mimic a Sennheiser 441 or 421. And in both cases, it sounded almost exactly the same. It's basically just an EQ curve they use, and it makes it sound a little bit different. But in my mind, not enough to make a difference. That mic actually sounded the best, just raw. And I would have used it if it wasn't for this massive plosive problem that I just could not solve. So that was one. Then I bought an Aston Stealth, which is a large diaphragm dynamic. And I've had one before. Yeah, I've had it before, yeah. It was a similar thing, though. I was in my local Guitar Center just kind of looking around, and the guy that worked there in the microphone area, the Pro Audio, said, I got this Aston Stealth, and it's a really good deal. In fact, I was kind of hoping nobody would buy it because I wanted to buy it. And it was $99 also. So I was like, yeah, just give it to me. Yes, I'll take it. And so that mic was, I think new that was $299. It's come down quite a bit since then to maybe $150. But for $99, I just had to have it. And I brought that in, and same problem, massive plosives problem. Even though this one has a huge pop filter built into the head.
Yeah.
And then I also put another pop filter over it, plus a windscreen, and it was still popping like crazy on certain plosives. And it didn't sound as robust as I thought it would either. So I got rid of that as well. I also bought a MKH 415T, which is a Sennheiser microphone that is the precursor to the 416, which I also had before. But in this case, it was another deal. I don't know why I keep doing this. I should just stop shopping. But I found this one for $115. I think I spoke about this one before in the episode we did when I was talking about the college visits, and I visited Jack Daniel because he and I were talking about it. Anyway, I bought this again, but when it came shipped without the adapter I needed to hook onto the back of an XLR cable. So the older technology had this smaller cable called a Tushel, Tushel, and that connects to a regular standard XLR cable we use now, and because this mic was made in the 70s. And it did not come with that, and I was going to buy one. In fact, I did buy one, shipped from Germany, and right as the purchase was made, the new tariffs went into place that the Trump administration put in, and there's no longer the, was it demeritus? No, the de minimis.
De minimis.
There was de minimis exemption where goods under a certain amount were exempt from paying duties and tariffs. But now this has been eliminated by the Trump administration, and it was going to cost this guy $50 to ship it from Germany, and he just canceled the order and said, I'm not doing it. I don't blame him. I wouldn't pay $50 to ship it because the initial cost to ship it was, I think, $7. So that got canceled, and I could not find one to be shipped, so that's gone too. Is that the only mics I bought? Oh, I did buy a Blue Yeti Pro. I think I told you about this one in episode 2, and tried that, and did not end up keeping that because it wasn't any better. It did actually minimize the background noise like I was hoping, so it's a smaller capsule in that microphone, and it did do what I was hoping it would do, that it wouldn't pick up as much background noise. And then finally what I settled on, because I had it, and it goes back to that old adage that our friends George Whittam and Dan Leonard have said, the best mic is probably the one you have, and just learn how to use it. So right now I'm using the AT875R. And maybe because I've had a break and I haven't listened to it, my ears aren't as fatigued, or maybe it's the new positioning. I have changed positioning where it's almost 90 degrees to my mouth, like it's pointed completely sideways. And that has cut down the plosives. I mean, you haven't heard any, have you?
No, not really.
And I like the way it sounds. I've done a couple auditions on it recently, and I'm loving it again. So for the time being, the 875R is my one and only mic in the booth.
Distance doth make the heart grow fonder. But that's too funny, man. I just wonder what our audience's reaction is. It's like, God, man, just pick a mic and stick with it. But anyways, it's all part of the fun, right?
Part of it. Although
are there any other models that you're still curious about that you might try?
Yeah. I was looking for a long time, and I still am, at a Neumann KMS 105 or 104, or Sennheiser E965, which are basically the same microphone. These are handheld condensers used for on stage mostly. So they look like a SM58 or, in the Sennheiser's case, a E835, which I already have, but they're condensers. And I'm interested to see how those might sound because those are a smaller capsule as well in a form I'm used to. I think part of my problem lately is addressing the mic, like I said, with technique, because I've done so much live announcing, and some weeks that's all I'm doing.
I was gonna say, yeah.
And I'm just eating the mic. Like I'm literally touching my face to the windscreen to make sure I get enough volume out of it. And I think I've maybe screwed up the way I address the mic in the booth, and that may be part of it. But the point of these mics is they're just like the mics I use live, so I can get right up on them and see how they sound. So those are two. And then in a similar vein, the Shure KSM 8 or 9. So these are also handheld vocal mics. One is a dynamic. The 8 is a dynamic. The 9 is a condenser, kind of like the Neumann 105. And a Telefunken M81 or M80. And those are both handheld dynamics because I do like that form factor. I'm used to working them a lot live now. And if they would work in a booth but have a little more oomph, like a little more low end than the ones I have, which are the SM58 and the 835, those are kind of bright. They're meant to be that way because they're stage singing mics or live performance mics. I'm looking for something a little bit darker. So those are two I'm interested in. And I may buy an AT2040, which is a new broadcast dynamic mic by Audio-Technica, just because I'm curious, and it would help me working with clients with Twin Flame Studios because we're going to start recommending that to our clients because we just found out they got rid of their ATR 2100, which was a combination USB XLR mic handheld. We used to recommend that because it was like $99. You could get it on Amazon or Micro Center or Fry's, but they discontinued it apparently in favor of this. And it's basically aimed at the podcast market. It's like the pod mic from Rode, similar form factor. And they have their own BP40, which is a large diaphragm dynamic, which I've also owned. And I do like that, but that is $400 I don't want to spend right now. And the AT2040 is only $99 in most places, including Sweetwater. So I might just pick one up and try it, and then I can have a reference when I work with clients at Twin Flames, and that'll be my excuse.
If you want to satisfy my gear lust, you should pick up the GVAA MD300. So it's another dynamic mic, but it's like $600.
Okay.
So, I have the GVAA M930, which is like, basically, it sounds like the TLM 103, but it's the size of the TLM 102. So It's a teeny little bitty mic, but I've had it for a long, long time. I found out about it because of Paul Strakerda's blog. It was his favorite mic for a very long time.
Yeah, I remember.
But anyways, if I always told myself if I ever got a dynamic, it would be theirs because I love the company so much, but I never had an excuse. But maybe I can push you off the ledge.
Sure, why not? Let's just buy everything.
Exactly. Bring on those QGPs. Is that everything that you got? Are we all caught up? I haven't actually bought anything, but I'm very tempted because I've been seeing all these posts. I know Hugh Edwards from Gravy for the Brain was letting go of a couple of Apollo or Universal Audio Apollo units, like Mark 1 and Mark 2, for like 300 pounds each, which isn't too bad. But like you were just talking about the tariffs, it would probably be much worse. But anyways,
we could buy it and have him just
Bowen,
give it to you next time he's in country.
Maybe that's an idea. Can count on him being here at least twice a year.
Yeah.
But anyways, and then our good friend Christy Bowen, unfortunately, the Tennessee voiceover studio is closing its physical location.
Yeah, I saw that.
They had a bunch of gear that they're getting rid of. So I was definitely tempted by, they had some great deals on some more Apollo units and the Roswell Audio RAVO, which I did a review of with Jordan Reynolds like way back at VO Atlanta. But it's a very attractive mic. It's kind of like the prototype of some of the mics that we have now, like the Mini K47 and K87, but it was designed specifically for voiceover applications. So those are all tempting me. We'll see how next. I am about to go on vacation and traveling, so I'm probably not spending money on mics yet. But
there's
when
always
I come
hope.
back, when I return,
There you go.
yes,
Tenting your fingers.
no, I was. See, physicality, guys. You can really hear it in the read.
I could hear it.
Excellent. But you said you had some software purchases you wanted to talk about too.
Yeah, these are actually not questionable. I upgraded both Twisted Wave and Isotope RX, so Twisted Wave, I was way behind. Some may remember my hissy fit I threw when Thomas decided to go to the subscription model. So I was refusing to upgrade for a long time. I was still on like version 27 or 28. But because I forget why I did it. There was some sort of like a bug maybe.
You updated your computer and it wasn't supported.
Oh,
right?
thank you. Yes, you're right. So Sean just reminded me, the reason I updated was because the old version was not working with my new computer on the Apple Silicon. So I upgraded to the latest version, paid the year-long subscription fee, and we'll see what happens next year. I may either just stay at this version or upgrade and do the subscription. The one cool thing that Thomas's particular subscription model offers is that you can pay once and just stop and stay at whatever version you pay for at that moment. And then if you want to, you can pay again and get the newest version and continue yearly, or you can just pay and stop. So I have basically, 350 days now to decide how I want to approach the subscription. But I do like some of the new features. I was able to use the speech recognition feature, which is really cool. I'd never used that before. So the speech and text recognition. And I kind of used it to edit my last audiobook. It wasn't exactly accurate, but I used it sort of like Positron, where I pulled up the script and the audio, and it doesn't do a one-to-one, but it gets pretty close to where you can see the text and it'll highlight things that are not there. And then you can go back and you click on the text, it'll go right to the spot in the waveform where that audio is, and it's easy to find mistakes in the audiobook. So I'm looking forward to using that more. And then there's a feature I don't know if it was there before and I just didn't notice it, or I just never used it, but it's called batch processing. Have you ever used this?
Oh yeah, totally. Mm-hmm.
So I use it.
That's essentially how. It's basically like applying a stack to multiple files.
Yeah, but you can also use it to change the extension in a file. So what I used it for was my last audiobook. I had all these WAV files, and I just put them all in the batch processor and said, convert these to MP3 at this rate, and put it in the same folder. And then I had all the MP3s I needed, and without doing anything, I just clicked it and actually went to pick up my kid from school. And I came back, it was done, and then I could upload all the files to ACX for the audiobook. And it saved me tons of time, maybe even like an hour of time where I used to do that manually. So I had no idea that was even a thing, and it was really, really cool.
Awesome.
And I also bought Isotope RX version 11. Again, I was way behind. I was on version 7 there. It was the same thing. The new plugins weren't working with, the old plugins weren't working with my new computer. So I upgraded that, and everything is back to normal. I'm able to use mouth declick and de-reverb, which is super helpful when I'm editing audiobooks, and sometimes for my own stuff as well, if I'm using a particularly clicky mic, which is always the case because who knows what mic I'm using this week.
Gives you consistency when you aren't. But anyway.
So that's it for me with the questionable gear purchases and intelligent gear purchases as well.
The sensible ones, yeah. Well, that's awesome. Always fun to hear your stories. And we'll see. I might cave. I might not. That's the problem with having gear that you like and don't need to upgrade. But anyways, I'm running out of content. I need to buy something.
Yeah, there you go. So we'll get to our interview with Thom Downs in just a moment, right after a word from these sponsors.
How many times has this happened to you? You're listening to the radio when this commercial comes on, not unlike this one, and this guy starts talking, not unlike myself.
Or maybe it's a woman that starts talking, not unlike myself, and you think to yourself, geez, I could do that.
Well, mister, well, missy, you just got one step closer to realizing your dream as a voiceover artist, because now there's Global Voice Acting Academy. All the tools and straight-from-the-hip, honest information you need to get on a fast track to doing this commercial yourself.
Well, not this one exactly.
Classes, private coaching, webinars, home studio setup, marketing and branding help, members-only benefits like workouts, rate and negotiation advice, practice scripts, and more. All without the kind of hype you're listening to right now. Go ahead, take our jobs from us. We dare you.
Speak for yourself, buddy. I like what I do.
And you will too when you're learning your craft at Global Voice Acting Academy. Find us at globalvoiceacademy.com.
Because you like to have fun.
Walgreens. Because it's flu season, and you live in a place with doorknobs and handrails and, people.
We tried booking a vacation rental on one of those other websites. They don't always tell you everything.
The stars take it to the red carpet.
We are back live from the red carpet.
California leads the way for change in America, and so does Kamala Harris.
Rated M for mature. Claire Redfield.
And who exactly are you?
So, yeah, what hashtag should I use to describe a grown man in a tuxedo wrestling a goat?
And prior to 1933, many of them belonged to a variety of political parties that were now outlawed in Germany.
This is the story of how Q got curly. Quinn was crazy about curls. Curly fries, curly straws, curly-haired dogs.
Hey, Jay Michael here. Thanks for listening to the VO Meter podcast. It's one of my favorites. If you're looking for a great demo like the ones you just heard, check out jmcdemos.com for more information.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to this interview portion of the VO Meter, as I stumble on the intro, as I often do. Today, this is going to be a little bit informal because today we're talking to one of my oldest friends. We were just trying to figure it out, and it's actually been 30 years that I've known this gentleman. And he reached out to me a couple of months ago talking about wanting to get into voiceover and asked for some advice. And I said, sure, absolutely, love to help. And one of the things I recommended was getting some coaching with the Global Voice Acting Academy, who, as you know, hopefully by now, is a sponsor of the show. And it sounds like he did that as well. And I'm proud to say that he's progressing, according to Sean at least. We'll talk about that in a second. First, I want to welcome formally Mr. Thom Downs. Thom, welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you very much for having me. Appreciate it. Long time.
Our pleasure.
Good to see you as well, Sean.
Thank you. So for folks who don't know, so you've been with GVAA for what, about half a year now, Thom?
Almost half a year. Not quite, but I'm getting there. Yeah.
That's right.
So the curriculum.
Excellent. Yeah, he's plowing through it. But so obviously I don't have the history that Paul does. But as Paul was intimating earlier, we're always happy when someone like an aspiring talent actually takes our advice and puts some emphasis on training before they try and do anything else. So like we like to ask our guests on the podcast, tell us a little bit about your own VO journey and how you got started with all of this.
Well, it actually started I just like a lot of people, say they do. Well, people say you have a great voice and you should, get into voice acting and voiceover. And I was always like, whatever. And then I was getting close to retirement from firefighting. And my best friend for the longest time, since we were 13, his wife does voiceover for Spanish books. So she actually brought it up to me when we were hanging out one night. She was like, you should really think about this. So that's when I really started to, you know what, that might be a great thing to get into if I can, And so, yeah, after reaching out to Paul and then finding GVAA, and GVAA has been unbelievable as far as understanding all the things that I didn't even think existed, in this career, which has been amazing. And I've just been having a blast.
Awesome. Well, let's unpack that a little bit. So for you, what have been sort of your own kind of misconceptions or aha moments, or even like, oh, this is what it's really about kind of thing?
For me, deconstructing a script, words on a page, until I understood that, like, who you're talking to, why, how, what about, and everything, what kind of direction can you take from it that the people that wrote the script might not have thought of, that might give you a little bit of a edge where it's like, oh, we didn't think it was going to come from that perspective and stuff. And just being able to look at things like that and break that down. And that has been invaluable. And being actually able to, like, it's acting. So, just standing still with your arms at your side isn't going to get any emotion across. It's not going to really convey what you're trying to get out to everybody.
Now, did you have any performance experience before? Because as we talked about, we've known each other for a while. And when I first met you, you actually went by an entirely different name. You called yourself Vamp, which I felt was sort of ahead of the curve as we talk about, people being non-binary. And I know that wasn't what you were going for. Maybe it was, you can tell me. But you actually asked people to call you by not your name and as the name Vamp. And we did that for 4 years in college because that's what you asked. And we were trying to be, amenable to people's wishes. So does that come from any sort of performance background where you felt like you wanted to be someone else or you thought that might be in your future?
That was really just came from like this punk, screw everybody, mindset back then. I mean,
wanted a name that suited your identity. Yeah.
Yeah. I think when we first met, Paul, I think I had like a 6-inch purple mohawk.
Yep. I remember.
Nice. My brother used to do the egg whites and everything too.
Yep.
To get like super...
So yeah, I was just literally, this standout in honestly a bunch of frat, guys, and it was awesome because we just had a great time. Everybody, just got along, and it was just a great experience. But yeah, that was me back then. Just screw everything.
How does that inform your acting choices now, if at all?
Actually, the way I'm thinking about it now, just be loose about it. Don't box yourself into, this thing that you think you should be. In my classes with GVAA and everything, I've gotten a better response when I've just kind of gone nuts with something, or what I think I even have more to develop and everything, but I've always got a better response when I just kind of go for it and do something random than just, reading or trying to figure out what everybody expects.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, making strong choices are rarely wrong ones. So that's great. So we've talked about physicality, the importance of like moving your body. It's not just a voice only exercise. We've talked about analysis. I think that's one of the biggest reasons why people sound like they're reading something, because they're essentially just reciting it off of the page rather than really thinking about why they're saying what they're saying, like what the relationship to the people they're talking to is. It's very different if you're trying to sell something to someone versus like you're frustrated because you're reminding them for the millionth time to take the garbage out, right? So it's just context is everything, right? But I'd love to know what some of your favorite parts of the membership is and some of the coaches that you've gotten to work with that you've benefited from.
Well, Joyce Castellanos has been amazing. She's the coach that I've worked with the most so far. And of course, Dave, when I first had my first interview or whatever you want to call it with him before joining, and he was like, listen, I'm not going to BS you. I'm either going to tell you that you can actually be able to do something with this if you work hard, or whether you're not. And then you can decide whether you want to continue with it or not. And he came back with some really amazing feedback and just things to consider and everything, and so supportive and everything. So
it's Rosenthal?
Yeah.
David
Okay.
Rosenthal. Mm-hmm. So he does free consultations for anyone who's curious about our membership or any of the other services we offer.
Yeah.
You talked to him about Baltimore at all, Tom?
What's that?
You talked to him about Baltimore at all? Because he's from Bethesda and lived in Baltimore for quite a while, so he knows all the haunts we used to go to when we were in school.
Oh, that's so funny. No, I haven't yet.
I think he even worked at Center Stage in Baltimore for a while. So yeah, he's got all those connections.
But yeah, and honestly, the classwork, the workouts too, the fact that they're recorded and then being able to listen back to them. If you're not listening back to the workouts, you're doing yourself a disservice. Mm-hmm. Sometimes, the first time I did it, I got caught up and, I wasn't really paying attention to what everybody else scripts, reads were. And then, the second one, I was like, you know what? Okay, let me go back and pay attention to everybody else, how they're reading it, what they're doing. And let me see if I can pick up something from them. And then the coaches, critiques on theirs, if I can get anything from that. And then when you send out the email, it's like, okay, it's now available for view, listening to it. Because you're not listening to yourself when you're doing it. Mm-hmm. When you're in the workout, you're not hearing yourself because you're in that moment, you're in that space.
Yeah, we totally understand that. Because, I mean, there is a level of stress that happens, especially if you have no performance experience and you're not used to performing in front of others. A lot of people will get upset with us sometimes because it's like, I do so much better by myself. And I was just like, look, this is voice acting, but you're going to perform in front of people at some point. Like, you're going to have to do a directed session at some point, right? And there could be 1, 2, 3, a half dozen people in the room with you, right? So even though we can't simulate one-to-one what that's going to be like, we do want to encourage people's performance confidence. But we totally understand that you're not really paying attention to everything that's going on because of that. And to your point, you might be focused on doing well for yourself and not really paying attention to the other participants and the feedback they do, or if they're farther in their journey than you are, you're not paying attention to what they do well, right? So I'm really glad that you brought up that you've benefited from this, because I've actually had to change the way that I distribute these. We used to have like a whole library where people could reference ones even that they didn't attend to, but I watched the metrics. People weren't watching them. So it's like, it didn't make sense to do it, to just give them the farm, right? So I was just like, all right, here's the one that you attended, because I know you have a personal vested interest in that. So I'm really glad that you're benefiting from it. And the people who I do send these to tell me the same thing.
Yeah, because when you're sitting there in the space and then you hear the critique from the coach, you're listening to the critique, but you're not hearing what they heard.
Yeah, exactly.
Because you were in the moment. So then when you listen back and then you listen to yourself, you're like, oh, that was pretty good, but I understand exactly what they're saying now. I get
now
it.
You understand the why.
Exactly. And it just helps everything click.
It does get
Very,
easier.
very cool.
Not that I'm the most seasoned pro, but if I go to a workout now, I don't feel nervous anymore. I do kind of listen to what I say and hopefully get the feedback from the coach that's good. Really, I'm just looking for compliments, honestly. But I do
inflate that ego.
I do find that the nerves have gotten easier, and whereas before, the first couple times I did workouts where I had no performance background either, really, I would just be shaking until it got to my turn, like
totally
visibly shaking until it got to my turn, and then I would stumble and feel bad about it. But it does get easier after several years. It's going to take a while.
And I'm still in that state.
Yeah, I was going to say it happens the same too if it's like a person whose work you're familiar with, if they were like a celebrity talent or maybe a high-profile agent that you want to impress. Of course you're going to get butterflies. But again, the only way to really combat that is with practice. But what were you saying, Thom?
No, I mean, I'm still in that same space where it's like I still get nervous when the person before me is reading and I'm like, crap.
They were really good. Yeah.
Man, and then it's like, I don't have to top that. I just have to do my best with what I have in front of me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's not a competition. You're in a competition with yourself to be better. You're not trying to sit there and compare against whoever, because we all have different voices. Like, this is stuff that I'm realizing, that you've heard, but you don't really quite understand until you're like, yeah, no, like you hear somebody's voice and you're like, oh man, that's some silky smooth Barry White dude. And so, yeah, there's just finding out who you are and what you like and what you think you can do, and then push it.
It's not the voice either.
People...
I mean, it can be, sometimes it's the voice, but it's not always. And we talked about, you might have heard on the show, I had an incident where I couldn't book a job where I was the reference. Somebody sent me a video, a friend, and they said, this is you, right? And I listened to it and I said, yep, that's me. She said, my agent sent this out to us and they said they wanted someone who sounds like this. And I said, great, I'll call the agent and tell them. So I did, and I said, hey, that's me. Can I have the job, basically? And they said, well, you still need to audition. So I auditioned for it, and I didn't get
it. Oh, man.
You went from like the first to the fourth stage of like performance career. Yeah.
I look forward to being able to audition. Yeah, can't wait for that part.
You're getting there, but kind of segueing from what we were talking about before, one of the things that I've always appreciated about you, Thom, is your attitude. And you always come here very positive and ready to learn, and you're always very receptive to the coach's direction. Like, I've worked with talent that kind of come in, like for whatever reason, they...
I know what he's going to say.
Paul's pointing at himself in case you can't tell from the audio. But who come in, we say like a full cup. There's nothing else for them to learn, right? Like they just want the booking. Just give me the booking, like, kind of thing. And then they're humbled because they're like, oh, maybe you're not as good as you thought, right? But for you, none of that. Like, you're really open to it. You're really open to trying everything. I remember early on, you're like, should I stick to like one genre or should I try a whole bunch of different? I was like, no, try a whole bunch. See what sticks. See what resonates with you. And you took to that like a fish to water. Like, I started seeing you in everything, whether it be like promo with Joyce or character work with Brian or commercial work with David. Like, you tried a little bit of everything. So I'm curious, what areas are you most interested in, and has that changed as you kind of experimented with the different genres?
Well, I mean, I would love to eventually get into character. That would be, I just think so much fun just to develop a persona and be able to keep it and carry it. And, in my mind, when I was younger, whatever, played D&D.
Mm-hmm.
And, you got into that character. You knew who that character was. You knew what they were going to do. You knew how they were going to relate to different things. And I think that would be a blast. But I really have a lot of fun with, commercial and promo. It's quick, it's to the point, and if you get a good script, I can find a lot of fun with those.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, good writing makes good acting easier. So thank you, Thom, for telling us about your experience with GVAA. But we want to know, as someone who's still kind of new, what kind of, and since our podcast is helping new talent get their bearings and stuff, what questions do you still have that you might want to pick our brains about?
Okay, well, one I have is that I'm having trouble getting the levels for my mics. I have my shotgun, AT, what is it?
897.
897 and my Rode NT1A, and I have them lined into my Scarlett 2i2. But when I'm recording, it doesn't seem like I'm getting peaks high enough where everything just seems very soft. And then I have to go and edit it, post, and just try and bring everything up, which I would rather not do.
This is for both mics, or one is worse than the other?
One is worse than the other. The condenser is definitely worse than the shotgun.
Okay, it probably has a higher output, and so much of it's just kind of in what specifically, like what work are you using this for the most?
Well, I haven't really used the Rode more than just for myself, just to try and see the difference between, I guess, got kind of like a warmer, softer sound than, the AT.
Mm-hmm.
But I primarily use the AT.
Is it a Windows computer?
No, it's a MacBook Pro. Older MacBook Pro.
Okay.
Okay, so we don't have to worry about the voice isolation yet.
Well,
But,
also, there's a definite issue with Windows, and or there used to be at least, with the Focusrite drivers, that it would have this artificial limiter built in. It wasn't even supposed to be that way. It was just like a bug in the driver where it wouldn't let it go past a certain level. So that's what it sounded like to me at first, and I guess it still could be. Does it seem like there's an artificial limit on the dial? Like no matter how high you turn it up, it's the same lower level?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
That does sound like a driver problem. What generation of the interface is it?
It is the latest. I only bought it. What's that? Yeah, the 4.
4, okay. That one should not have that issue, although it does sound exactly like it. John, do you know a way to update the drivers on that? On a
I
Mac?
should just go to their site, and they'll have like the most current one available for download. But that's what I would try.
Thinking I had to adjust something in Adobe Audition or whatever to try and like up it, or I up the gain, and then it just doesn't seem like it really does anything until it's like over the top or something.
I was gonna say, do you still able to clip and peak and all that stuff if you try?
You know what? I'm going to be honest. I'm just getting into that phase of learning this aspect of voiceover. So
yeah,
there's a lot of things that I don't
really
understand.
Yell into it and see it. Not now, because you'll kill us. I think you're using the other one now too. But when you get a chance to test it next time, put it as high as it can go. Really yell into it, and if it's clipping as it should, it'll have a flat line at the top of the waveform. You'll be able to see it. It'll look like it was cut off with a pair of scissors, or a pair of clippers with a haircut. It'll look like
and
it was
it'll
cut
sound
off.
distorted as well.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And if it doesn't, then there is some sort of artificial limit built into that driver, and update the drivers on the website and see if that helps.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like we said, it's less likely because it's more of a PC than a Mac problem, but it's something to be wary of.
Also, I hate that mic. They're not a sponsor, so the Rode
The
NT1A.
The Rode or the
Rode
AT-897?
NT1A is garbage. Don't even bother.
Okay.
Unless there's a reason you need a large diaphragm condenser, and there might be in the future, I would just stick to the Audio-Technica AT897 you're using there. I've used it, and I've bought and sold it like 4 times.
Questionable gear purchases.
Yes,
For
exactly.
real. And for those who don't know, like the 897, last time I checked, it was like 300 new. You could probably get it for less used. It's kind of a step above the 875R, which we recommend a lot as like a good beginner shotgun mic for about a tenth the cost of the 416. But the 897 is a little bit smoother, more rounded sound, in my opinion. What do you think, Paul?
Yeah, that's what I liked about it. It was a little dull, honestly. Like if you're looking for a shotgun to do promo work or video game work, it's probably not the best because it does have a rounded sound. But that's kind of why I liked it, because I have some issues with sibilance, and it helped to tame those. 416 was a nightmare for me with mouth noise and clicks. So if you want to upgrade, there's always the 416. There's another one I like a lot where there's a video out there I did a comparison where I couldn't really tell the difference, or some people couldn't tell the difference. It's the 405, at the time it was 405.3B, Audio-Technica also. It's a 405.3B, and they have a newer one called the 407.3. And those look exactly like a 416. In my opinion, also sound better. So check that out if you want to. They're also cheaper. If you want to
For
spend
Paul's
more
voice.
money.
Yeah.
I always love spending other people's money.
Yeah. I mean, I think we might have kind of similar voices in a way where we have like yours is a little bit lower than mine, but there's this like, I don't want to say reverb because I don't quite know the term or whatever, but it just
resonance.
Thank you.
Yes, my voice is very resonant.
But back to your actual question about levels and stuff like that. I mean, honestly, it's better to be a little bit quieter than too loud because you can't recover that, right? Like we were saying, if you go too loud, your signal will distort, it will clip, and you can't send that off. Looks very unprofessional. But as long as they're not anemic, as long as they're not like really tiny little waveforms and stuff like that, I usually recommend like -12 to -9 for folks. Like, so about kind of takes up a little portion of the middle of the screen. That should be enough. You can boost that after you're done. And as long as it's not like going from super quiet to super loud, you're not going to be amplifying a lot of the room tone on top of it.
Yeah, I'm having trouble getting it to like -9.
Oh,
yeah, there's definitely something wrong there.
We'll
So I don't know if it's the cables I'm using maybe, or...
You might need to go into your sound settings, your max sound settings, and adjust how much the input is on that.
Oh, okay. Definitely have to look into that too then.
It should have like a slider for that.
Yeah, grocery list.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a never-ending quest, unfortunately.
And also, you could sign up for our home studio workout with Jonah Rosenthal, and he'll help you out. So
that is on the docket.
Shameless self-promotion. But anyways.
What else? What other questions might you have?
Actually, some other questions would be, what are some other things that I can do? It's like, I started reading books about like acting just to get a different perspective and then try and translate that into the booth. Do you have any other suggestions that, as resources that could help me along the way?
I'm actually doing that right now, too. I just finished Stella Adler's book for that same reason. I had to take my daughter to college, and it took 9 hours to get there. So the whole way I listened to the book and finished it. So that's a good resource for sure. And there's a bunch of other ones out there.
Let's see. I got lots of resources. I even have a resource doc that I can send you too. A couple of books off the top of my head: Voiceover Voice Actor by Tara Platt and Yuri Lowenthal. So they're a bit of a power couple. You might know them from Naruto or Spider-Man or things like that. Let's see. Making Money in Your PJs. It's kind of a compilation of Paul Striquerda's blog articles, as well as More Than Just a Voice by Dave Cavassier. There's a VO, which is like V-OH ! By Mark Cashman. And one of my favorite ones, well, actually two more. So one's really practical warm-up based one. It's Rodney Salisbury's Tongue Twisters and Vocal Warm-Ups and Other Vocal Healthcare Tips. I believe you can find it on his site or on Amazon. And then there's one of my favorite ones, my absolute favorite ones, is To Be or Wanna Be by Sean Allen Pratt. It's kind of it's something that are required reading for all of his audiobook students, but it's really about being a professional actor of any stripe, whether it's on camera, voice acting, or audiobook.
Sean and I both coached with him at one point. I finished his program. I had the certificate of completion.
I started, but
other things you can do, you're doing the best. One of the best things actually is continuous workouts. I wish I had time to do that more. So working with GVAA on those workouts is great. If there's any
I have the luxury of being retired.
Well, that helps, yeah. If there's any in-person workouts you can go to, a long time ago when I was working at Everett Oliver, he suggested I take some acting classes at the local community college. And I actually signed up for some at CCBC, the Community College of Baltimore County, and every time they canceled it. 3 times in a row I signed up and they canceled it for lack of interest. So I never did follow through. But look at your local community colleges, or I know you're in an area where there's some larger universities. Check there. Sometimes you can take them, or almost always you can take them non-degree and just show up and take the acting classes there.
Excellent. I'll definitely look into that.
I think it's hard to find like some of these in-person offerings nowadays, aside from like the larger conferences, if you're not in a major city. Like, I mean, in Seattle, we used to get regular ones with like Everett Oliver and Pat Fraley and stuff like that. But I feel like with Zoom and then the pandemic, it's like, it's just easier to do online training these days, I guess. But by all means, try and find local stuff. I mean, I still teach locally when I can in Seattle.
I mean, I've looked around here since I've moved down here. And I'm in Charleston, by the way. I know you guys know that, but audience doesn't.
I was going to say.
No worries.
But I've looked, but it seems like all the acting classes are for children. You know, they're all
adults don't have
children.
time for extracurriculars.
How about the military? Go check out the Citadel. Do they have acting classes? Probably not. Probably not the ones you want to get into.
Yeah, right.
All right, so there's some resources you can look into. Anything else you want to tackle?
The main thing for me is just trying to get everything set up. I've been doing, recordings of, actually, I've been reading like Dr. Seuss as some of my recordings, the tongue twisters, that, and like Edgar Allan Poe, just to try and like get different tones, different, read different things, different ways, and just try and figure out like what sounds good, what doesn't, and get a pace, get a cadence and everything. And that's, what I've been trying to do on the side here and there.
I mean, that's helpful. If you're looking into audiobooks specifically, there are ways you can practice that and submit it to people. Are you familiar with Learning Ally?
No, I'm not familiar with Learning Ally.
So they're a nonprofit that has people submit audiobooks on their own. They record it on their own and submit it to them. And they are specifically catered to people either who are visually impaired or have
reading difficulties.
Reading difficulty, yeah. So mostly children, but they'd have some other novels as well. So I did like a Curious George book for them a long time ago, and totally volunteered. But otherwise, I wouldn't have access to that book probably because it was a major publisher. So they get deals with major publishers for big titles because they are a nonprofit. And it's a good way to practice and also help people at the same time. So check them out.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah, I did my first audiobook with them as well. It was The Giver, of all things. So that was personally important to me. So it was really cool. And it was, I felt good about it. And they're a great team. They're very patient and flexible. Like if you're just starting or like, it's a great simulation for working for an actual publisher, except they're a little bit more patient with you.
Yeah.
So that's a great resource. But so we've talked a little bit about performance stuff. We've talked about tech. Do you have any other questions?
Actually, I just remembered one of my questions, and it goes to both of you. It's a two-parter. What was the most beneficial thing as you were learning that helped you make that jump to, getting that much closer? And when did you feel like, you actually can, make a career out of this?
Do this. You want to go first, Sean? Or do you want me to go?
Go ahead. Yeah.
Well, for me, I think the biggest benefit was the first conference I went to. We've talked about this a lot on the show if you listened. I went to VOA. No, I guess technically the first one was the Mid-Atlantic Voiceover Conference in 2016, where I met Sean for the first time, which is kind of funny because we had talked for almost a year at that point online, and I actually saw him for the first time there. And that was like a breath of fresh air because kind of like the workouts, I got to see people doing their thing without really any pressure. So I got to see people perform, do auditions in an in-person setting. That helped a lot. And then I went to VO Atlanta that next year, and that was like Vegas with the amount of people and activity.
Yeah,
I left there with my head spinning, but it was for the same reason. It was great because I got to see so many aspects of the business in person at once and talk to people face to face. Because it's one thing to see people on Zoom or through email, but it is different when you talk to them in person. And it makes a big difference, in my opinion. So if you can get to a conference, there's so many now all over the country. They're in Chicago and Atlanta and Dallas and New England and Washington. They're all over. So get to one if you can, and I would highly recommend it. And then when I finally realized I could do this was when I started having to leave my job. And I know you don't have this problem because you're retired, but when I had to leave my job to do auditions, I was literally skipping out of the job and saying, I'm going to go to lunch. I would go out in my car and do an audition. Or one time I literally just left and went home because they needed somebody for an important job. There was a SAG-AFTRA eligible job. And I was like, I'm just going to do this. So I just left and went home. And I quit my job like 6 months later because I knew it was time. So when it started interfering with regular work, or I was making as much money as I was at my current job, in your case, maybe your last paycheck before you retired or your pension, when you're making as much as that, that's probably the time to consider doing it full time and saying, okay, now I can do it because I'm making enough money. I always sort of preach follow the money, not only for career progression, but also for genres you want to work in. It's great to have aspirations, but if you've done 1 million, let's say 1,000 auditions in a year for audiobooks and you haven't booked one, it's probably time to stop chasing audiobooks.
Oh, interesting.
I've reached that point. I've reached that point with, at least for the time being, with radio imaging. I made a great imaging demo with friend of the show and sponsor J. Michael Collins, JMC Demos. I sent it out to every radio station in the country over like a 6-month period and got no responses. So I said, okay, this is pointless. If I can book 5 audiobooks at once, which happened just a few weeks ago, I should just keep doing that.
Awesome. Now for me, it's... I didn't put as much logic into it as Paul did. I will say that. And maybe this isn't, I'm not the best example. Like for me, there wasn't a set point where like, yeah, I can do this. For me, it was more like, I can't imagine a life where I'm not doing this. Like, and so I just did whatever I could to make it happen. I just wish I had the energy and drive of my 20s. But it's all the little things that I would do. Like I remember when I first started training, I told people like, hey, I'm Sean. I'm trying to be a voice talent. You know, I would just tell people. And that's how I got my first client of 7 years. It was like, we just met at a random event in person. And I was like, hey, I'm trying to become a voice talent. And he's like, well, what do you know? I'm trying to move my own voiceover responsibilities to someone else, because he had like an English language business that he was trying to scale. And so we worked together for years.
And
I wish it was that easy in other aspects of my career. But again, so like it's things like that. And then working like 12, 14-hour days for like 6 months, like trying to, this was like my last year in Japan as I was like juggling 2 jobs and like, I'd get up at 6, go to work from like 8 to 3, sleep till maybe 7 or 8, then eat, and then work from 10 till 4 in the morning, right? It was just the level of work that I was willing to put into it. And I feel like that really helped me get to where I'm going. And like Paul said, conferences have been very, very important. Like when I won Anne Ganguza's international scholarship when I was in Japan to attend VO Atlanta. I was like, yes, I can do this. People see, like, not only am I passionate about this, but people see that passion in me and they want to support it, kind of thing. So that was great. And then, again, meeting your tribe, feeling like it just feels really right to be around so many like-minded people. And then to your question, I'd say the one true moment of that was when I got my first like broadcast animation character, the Pack Rat, and I was doing a directed session, and it's just like it was everything they told you about, where it's just like you get the cue, you wait your 3 beats, and then you do the line, and then they're like, oh, you got to shave off half a second, and then I did it, right? Like I had to do this whole thing where it's like he's freaking out, and one of the jokes about this character is got a fake mustache that falls off all the time whenever he's trying to be serious. And so like I had to basically add 5 seconds of him going like just to get the timing right. And I was like, it's not like nobody taught me how to do that. Lots of people taught me how to do that, but I was doing it, and I like I was meant to be there, and it felt so damn right. So that long-winded answer is your answer.
Amazing.
I've had those moments too, those aha moments where you feel like you've kind of made it. Like, for instance, I did some dubbing for a Netflix show. I had to go to New York City and do a session. That was kind of cool. Where I hadn't done, at that point, anything in a session. Everything was done here in the booth. And going to New York to do that was pretty cool. The first time I announced a Major League Baseball game, same thing. I did kind of sit down. I was like, oh, my God, I'm actually doing it. This is pretty cool. So those will come with perseverance. And I guess my biggest advice would be just stick with it until it's really staring you in the face that you can't. And I don't see anything in you, or from I know about you personally, I don't know anything about you that would indicate that you're going to give up very easily. So just keep persevering, and I think you'll get there.
No, I'm having too much fun.
Awesome.
Having way too much fun.
Let the fun push you through the unfun.
So, Thom, thanks so much for being on the show. Like I said in the beginning, you're one of my oldest friends at this point, which is crazy to believe. We met in college as undergrad 30 years ago, and honestly, I haven't advanced much since then. I'm still the same idiot. Thankfully, you've matured a little bit. But it's a pleasure having you here and talking about your voiceover journey.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thanks, Sean. Thanks, Paul.
Yeah, our pleasure, man. It's great getting to know you. And like I said, you've got the right attitude, and it's a pleasure to work with you.
I look forward to working with you.
In these modern times, every business needs a website. When you need a website for your voice acting business, there's only one place to go. Like the name says, voiceactorwebsites.com. Their experience in this niche webmaster market gives them the ability to quickly and easily get you from concept to live online in a much shorter time. When you contact voiceactorwebsites.com, their team of experts and designers really get to know you and what your needs are. They work with you to highlight what you do. Then they create an easily navigable website for your potential clients to get the big picture of who you are and how your voice is the one for them. Plus, VoiceActorWebsites.com has other great resources, like their practice script library and other resources to help your voiceover career flourish. Don't try it yourself. Go with the pros. VoiceActorWebsites.com, where your VO website shouldn't be a pain in the you-know-what.
Thank you so much to Thom for coming on and sharing your experience, all of everything you've learned, all the misconceptions, and honestly, it was amazing to hear how helpful GVAA has been to your progress. We love hearing stories like that. So keep coming to workouts. We love working with you, Thom.
Yeah, I'd like to do it again. If you're a listener and you have a bunch of questions that you think we haven't answered or answered wrongly, let's get together and you could be a guest on the show. We'd love to have you and do what we did with Thom with an Ask Us Anything. And see if we have any knowledge, because sometimes we do. Sometimes I surprise myself, right?
Straight from the mouth of Paul. But yeah, please come on. Either share your story or set us straight. We'd love to have you. So that wraps up this episode of the VO Meter.
Coming up, we're going to have our special Thanksgiving episode. This is a tradition we started way back in the first season, and we're going to rekindle it, talk about the things in voiceover or otherwise that we're thankful for as we head into the holiday season.
All right, stay tuned for that. You'll hear us then. Thanks for listening to this episode of the VO Meter. To follow along, visit us at www.vometer.com.
We'd also love to hear your comments or suggestions for the show. Or if you have a questionable gear purchase, tell us all about it on our Facebook page or on Twitter at the VO Meter.